Good evening, Professor Addison, rest of the class. My research paper was done on male infertility. I had titled it The Significance of Male Infertility because of something that I had found while I was developing my research essay on the broader spectrum of assisted conception methods. It's a subject I chose because it hits close to home. My wife and I are currently trying to start a family. So I figured, why not get something that will give me a little bit more insight into uh, issues that the general populace come um, to face. I I switched from having the broad spectrum of just assisted uh, conception methods to male infertility because during my research, I had noticed that there was a lot of literature on female infertility. And of course, you need both a male and a female to conceive a baby. So I wanted to figure out why it was more of an afterthought to discuss male infertility, whereas female infertility is the biggest thing and they don't account for the major proportion of cases of non conception. So, while doing my research in my new home of Fort Benning, Georgia, I went to the local Barnes and Nobles and discovered that there were only two books on fertility in general throughout the whole store, and only one which covered to any substantial extent male infertility. That book would be The Whole Life Fertility Plan. It's chapter 13, is where I get a lot of my information from. Um, I will slowly bring ourselves into it. It's towards the end of the book, chapter 13 of a 14 chapter page. And the chapter is actually only about uh, 10 pages long. So that was the biggest extent. I also went on a lot of websites to construct my essay. I'll take you over to my abstract. Okay. Conceiving a child is a daunting task, uh, not to be taken lightly. It takes a physical toll on the body to endure 40 weeks of pregnancy. Amen to women. Uh, National Women's Appreciation Day, I think, is the title of today, but go women. Um, how would one get there in the first place? In the following pages, I will shed light on the possible methods of conception and why some would consider any of the type of conceptions over the other. You see, this is still a carryover from my original title task. The first type of conception is the oldest and most natural. That is conception through penile vaginal intercourse, a term that I've come to like over the course of this class. Um, this type of conception is the preferred method for most people. The reason this method would not be viable for you are but not limited to infertility or same-sex partners. Like I said, this is a carryover in my abstract from the original point. When the traditional method of conception is not viable, you can use assisted techniques. These methods include interuterine insemination, in vitro fertilization, intracytoplasmic injection, donated sperm, donated eggs, embryo surrogacy. All these methods have their merits, and you should speak with your physician before choosing any type of assisted conception technique. For this paper, we will look in depth into male infertility, common case causes, and self-help techniques that can make your ejaculate viable. If possible, male infertility is an often overlooked uh, issue when considering starting a family. For many websites, magazines, and even books written by experts in the field of reproduction, why does the possibility of infertility in half of the actioning parties seem like an afterthought? I say that because during my research, it became amazingly and glaringly obvious, obvious that it's not men writing these essays. Most of them are done by females. Now, it may be that they choose to speak to an audience from a position of knowing, or that most cases it's not men who are looking for uh, this literature, this work, so they're leaving the women, their partners or whomever, to pick up the slack and go into the uh, the research. This was very eye opening. There were a lot of terminologies like as you goodness, back to the book because, like I said, this was a big help with me. Um, yeah. Teratozoospermia, monster sperm. Uh, Terato is Greek for monster, hence monster sperm. Uh, is just abnormal sperm. I think it's really cool. Another uh, point from this book, it's written by Kyra Phillips and Jamie Griffo, MD, PhD. They throw in a lot of easy talk and some jokes, some puns, things like that. Makes the reading a lot easier to handle. So I hope this is what you're looking for in terms of um, the oral presentation. I found this to be very eye-opening, very good to read through. Actually, um, it gave me some things to look out for. Like they always say, if you're trying to start a family, a man should, if he's wearing boxer briefs, switch to regular boxers because of the restrictions and the heat that you get from being together. In the book and on other websites, I learned that doesn't not really the case. Um, the change that you would incur is very minimal. Other things like a high BMI, body mass index, if you are too heavy for yourself, for your frame, what you should be, then your body's going to be working overtime and your sperm's going to lose motility. High blood pressure, not the affliction itself, but the medications that you would take to remedy the affliction can have negative effects on your sperm. Drug use, of course, causes low sperm counts, especially with marijuana. Tobacco use, was not familiar with that. Um, and just other things that can cause you to lose motility, create abnormal sperm, or even just lose the amount of sperm that you have in your semen. Uh, 10 out of 10 would definitely recommend doing some research on your own for other parties. It was amazing. Thank you. Have a good night and